Hello, how are you doing? My name's Anna and welcome to Confident Business English. This is the practical podcast for senior managers just like you who want to build their confidence but don't have a lot of free time. Coming up on the agenda today, do you feel that you really struggle at times to feel part of the conversation that you have with your native colleague? If that's you, then I'd really like to help boost your confidence with this, and that's why I created the Real Business Conversation series. This is where we take an example of a real life business conversation and we're going to extract some of that key learning to hopefully help you have a bit of a confidence boost the next time you have to have a meeting, a call, or a conversation with a native speaker. Let's crack on then, shall we? Right then, let me start off with giving you some context about the conversation that you're going to hear. You're going to hear me and my colleague Tom, who's going to give me a progress update on a project. And then at the end of the conversation, I'm also going to ask him a few questions about what he's going to be doing over Christmas as a natural way to end up that conversation. This is a different person and different accent than last time to keep it nice and challenging. And just as we did in the previous episode, what I'll do is I'll play you a clip and then we're going to analyze it and extract some of those key points for you. How are we going to make this episode practical? Well, if you want the free practical exercise that I'm going to give you in the newsletter, you can sign up and become a free member. You're also going to get the full transcript of the conversation as well as a version of it where there's no breaks, so you can go back and listen to it as much as you want. If you want to sign up and become a free member, you're going to be joining very good company. There's over 9,000 of you. And you can find the link in the description box of this episode. In this first clip, you're just going to hear me opening the meeting and just refreshing on the objective. Here we go. Hi, Tom. How's things?
Hey, Anna. Yeah, things are all great on this end, to be honest.
Wonderful. Excellent. So I just wanted to catch you today just to quickly catch up on the project and just follow up on a couple of things, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course it is.
This is a great example of a very just quick opening, not wasting any time. We're going to assume that we already know each other quite well, so there's no need to do a kind of extended small talk. I simply kick off by saying, hi, Tom, how's things? That's another alternative that you can ask somebody if it's a little bit more of an informal relationship that you have with them and you know them quite well. His answer to that was, things are all great on this end. That could be a nice one to add in there if you're looking to vary how you answer that question. You'll also notice how I used a couple of times catch. I just wanted to catch you today. That's exactly the same thing as saying I just wanted to speak to you today. I also then said again, I just want to quickly catch up on the project and follow up on a couple of things. Let's take a time out to have a look at follow up because I find a few times that people make little mistakes with this. The first thing is we can just use follow up on its own. I just wanted to follow up and see how things are going. We can follow up on tasks, i.e. in my sentence, I just want to follow up on a few things. Or we follow up with people. I just wanted to follow up with you, Tom, and just find out how the project's going. What sounds less natural is to say, I just want to follow up on the project. Well, we don't really follow up on the project, we follow up on the tasks in the project, if that makes sense. Let's take a look at the next clip then, and this is just where Tom is going to give me a high-level overview of the progress so far. Wonderful. So how is everything going so far?
Everything, to be honest, is going pretty well. Things just seem to be falling into place just at the right time, and we haven't had any issues that we've run into or any roadblocks that have come up. Everything's going well.
Yeah, so smooth sailing then, it sounds like. Good. Okay, and I know there's a couple of big deliverables coming up at the end of the year, so I just wanted to check in. Everything on track? Don't anticipate any issues with that? There are a couple of really interesting points to pick up here. Number one, he said this sentence, which is, everything's falling into place. This is a phrase which you might be able to tell from the context just means everything's progressing smoothly and coming together as planned. Imagine solving a puzzle. Once you get all the pieces together, the full picture starts to emerge. Also note the phrasal verbs that he uses there to talk about issues and roadblocks. He said, we haven't run into any issues. That's a great one you can use. And no roadblocks have come up. Be careful with come up because it features in lots of different contexts in business English. It can be to be mentioned or discussed. The budget issue came up in the meeting yesterday. It could be when something happens unexpectedly. I'm really sorry, but something's come up and I'm going to have to leave the meeting early. It could also mean approaching or arriving soon. We've got a few things coming up in December, so I just wanted to check in and make sure everything's coming along smoothly. It can also be about being available or arising. A new opportunity's come up, so we need to decide what we're going to do about it. Also, you'll notice the little expression that I used there, smooth sailing. This, again, is just a little phrase or expression that people will use when they want to say everything's going well, no problems. Sailing, of course, is related to boats. So a boat gliding across the water, no obstacles, just steady progress. That's what that phrase means. It doesn't mean anything else other than that. Let's continue with the next clip then, and Tom is going to continue to tell me about the progress.
No, hitting all the key milestones on our way to completing the big deliverables. We haven't had any, like I said, any roadblocks or anything like that. So we are all on track and on budget for meeting these deliverables by the end of the year, and maybe, if not, a tad bit before.
One key point I want to pick up here is maybe you're like, okay, what verbs do I use with milestone, objective, target, deadline? Because they're all in the same family, but which one is best? Well, you can use a couple with different verbs, but if you want to keep it nice and simple, I would say this. You achieve your aims, you achieve your goals, you reach milestones, meet your objectives, hit your targets, and meet your deadlines. The last thing he said, and this is where it's tricky with native speakers, is he said, we're on track, and maybe if not, a tad before. If you heard that, you might be thinking, oh my goodness, I have no idea what he's saying when he says tad. Well, it's actually pretty straightforward. It just means a little. A tad bit before just means a little before. So essentially all he's saying is, I think we're going to finish a little before the schedule, or a little bit earlier. We're going to finish some of the tasks. If I said I was a tad early, it would mean that I was a little bit early. Let's have a look at the fourth clip, and I'm going to make a proposal.
Maybe if we're going to finish that up earlier, then why don't we move some of the tasks forward from January?
Yeah, I mean, we can have a look into that, maybe closer to the time rather than doing it, right now at the jump.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I meant. I mean, of course, yeah, not doing it now, but I mean, it makes sense, right? We might as well do that if we can get ahead on some of the work from 2025. That would be great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I'm really glad to hear everything's going well. And so, what are your plans over Christmas? Are you doing anything nice?
A couple of quick points to pick up. You might have heard finish up and thought, what's the difference between finish and finish up? Well, they're both about completing and finalizing, but finish is just more general, and finish up is really focused on the last steps and finalizing. A really common thing as well is when I made that proposal, I said, why don't we do this? Because it would make more sense to bring forward some of those tasks. Why not make the most of it? And he says, yeah, well, we can do, but why don't we have a look at that closer to the time rather than doing it now at the jump? At the jump is just a colloquial way to say right now. It's really not very common, but that's what he's trying to get across there. But the nuance of that is he's being polite, but really what he's thinking is, no, I don't want to bring forward these tasks yet. I want to wait a little bit. So even though it sounds very soft and yeah, it can do, but really what he's saying is, no, I don't want to do that. Do you see what I mean? This is some of the nuance that you get with conversations where maybe you think, oh, he thinks that actually it's a good idea. Well, no, what he's really saying is, I think it's a bad idea. Then I ask him the classic question, which is, what are your plans over Christmas? And you don't need any other question. So if you have some native colleagues that you're going to be speaking to before Christmas, then this is all you need. Let's listen to the fifth clip, and in this, he's just answering what he's going to do over Christmas. And rather than me picking out any of the vocabulary, I just want you to see if you can understand what he's saying.
Yeah, just going out to see the family, the classic. I'm sure it'll be a long lion days, I imagine.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, that's the wonderful thing about Christmas, right? You can just sort
Yeah.
of, it's a real time to just
Switch off.
relax. Yeah, exactly. And are you still based in Reading then?
Just me again jumping in on the post edit here. The question I just asked was, are you still based in Reading? Just to let you know, Reading is actually a city in the south of England. If you look at the spelling, it sounds like reading. But as you know, British people don't like to make it easy. We pronounce it Reading. It's quite a big city. It's got a lot going on there. It's got a big university. It's about 20 minutes on the train from London. But, you know, honestly, don't bother going there. Don't add it to your tourist map. Although it does have a famous festival called Reading Festival, surprisingly, every year. Just in case you were interested in that fun fact. Probably not. Okay, back to the combo.
Yep, still in Reading, yep.
Okay, you're right. I haven't been to Reading for a long time. Is it worth a visit?
I'd say during the holidays, it's quite nice. The Christmas lights are something to look at.
Okay, yeah. No, I remember that from when I used to live near there actually, but I haven't been back in a while. So,
What did you pick up? And also, what did he say about where he lives, why it was worth visiting? I'm going to put the answers in the newsletter so you can follow up there, and I'll tell you exactly what he said and you can double check to see if you were right. Let's just take a look at the final short clip, which is where I quickly wrap up the conversation.
anyway, Tom, I won't take up any more of your time because I know I'm sure you've got a very busy schedule today. So, thanks for that. I guess I can let the others know everything's on track, things are going smoothly, and we'll be in touch about bringing forward that work from January into December.
Yeah. Sounds perfect. That sounds great.
Great. Okay. Well, if I don't speak to you, Tom, do have a good Christmas, and yeah, I'll speak to you when I speak to you.
You too. All right. I'll see you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
This is again a really typical example of how you can wrap up a meeting quickly with somebody that you already know and you've already worked with before. I would also really recommend that sentence where you say, if I don't speak to you before then, have a lovely Christmas, have a great time, and I'll speak to you in the new year. That's a really nice way to politely and naturally leave that conversation for the year. If it's with a colleague in the UK or maybe a client, for example, it sounds really, really natural to do that. That brings us to the end of the conversation, and I hope you enjoyed that, even if it was just to pick up one or two words or just understand something in a little bit more detail. Even if it's little things, all of these little things together add up to help you feel more confident in conversations and like you feel part of that conversation and not just on the edge. If you would like the full conversation without any breaks, which I think can be quite useful as well, sign up and become a free member. The link is in the description box. Thank you so much, as always, for squeezing me into your very busy day, and I will be back again very soon. Bye-bye.